Work's been breaking my back, already packing my bags. Punch that time card like a ticket out of here.
Welcome to this episode of Entrepreneurs Next Door podcast. This conversation is with George Moralia from MirAno's barbershop. Hearing George's story from neighborhood barber to marine barber to downtown Haddonfield fixture is amazing. MirAno's is a part of the fabric of this town because of George's commitment to creating a culture of community right in his barbershop. Please enjoy. This is Barry Hoover with the Entrepreneurs Next Door podcast, and I'm here with George Moralia.
Moralia.
I always say the G.
Yeah, it's very common.
Moralia. And this is awesome because we had your partner Joe on, and it was so cool to have him on and hear his story. And while he was sharing, he even mentioned too, got to have George on. And we said,
he's a good man.
Don't you worry, we're coming for him. So first thing, thank you for being on and cutting out time to be on today.
Thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure.
What I love to start off with is that journey, that entrepreneurial spirit for you. If you could kind of give us an idea, like when it started, and then how it rolled into having MirAno's in the middle of Haddonfield, and it be jam-packed all the time and awesome every time you go in. Can you connect all those dots for us?
Absolutely, Barry. As a young kid, going through grade school, I was always into drawing, painting, anything involving art I loved. So that was my passion. I grew up in Sicklerville, New Jersey, where me and my friends had a barbershop that we used to ride our bikes to as kids. It was called Nick's.
Yeah.
And that was our spot. That was our gathering spot for all our neighborhood to go get our haircuts, get our fades. Back then in the early 90s, the box haircuts, anything, line shaved in, all that good stuff.
That Mr. Fortunato?
Mr. Fortunato.
Mr. Bonder?
Mr. Fortunato is a big mentor of mine.
Get out.
Still cutting hair.
Yeah, he is.
And I actually owe him a visit because he kind of inspired me to become a barber.
That is awesome. He cut my hair too when I was younger.
It's amazing.
He was a big time player for Munro Township baseball. His son was amazing too. But he donated so much time to Little League, and naturally that was the place to go to get a haircut.
It's nice to hear that outside of barbering because I never really knew him well outside of it. But
incredible man. He did a lot for the Little League. I wonder if we were ever there at the same time. Don't you want to those things?
We very well could have been.
Good chance.
I still remember the image in my head of his shop. And like I said, just going there as kids riding our bikes, pulling our bikes up, dropping them off out front, going to see Nick, that was a big experience in itself. And then, getting our haircut by him, waiting for him, no matter how long it was, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, just shooting the breeze with the guys at the shop, that always had an impression on me. And then I would see his Cadillac parked out front and talk to him about fishing and boating. And for me, I don't know what it was. Something clicked in my mind. It just said that this may be something that I'd like to pursue. And I was about 16 or 17 at the time when that clicked, even though I was going to Nick for a long period of time before that. So he was a big inspiration. I actually mention him a lot in any kind of post that I make about when people ask me questions about why did I become a barber. Nick is at the top of the list and when it comes to that.
Yeah, I can see why. That's so cool.
So from there, I got some, as I admired his shop, went out and bought some clippers, some cheap clippers, Walmart kind of stuff, Opened my garage up and I would cut the kids in the neighborhood. And there was some really bad haircuts going on. Guys getting, really torn up. I can't, I can't go into too much detail, I guess, how bad I messed some people's hair up. I really feel bad for all those guys out there in my neighborhood, fathers, my friends, my cousins, but that's how you get good in barbering. That's what happens. You have to kind of go through the motions, and you have to have people that trust you to cut their hair, and they were the guys that kind of paved my way in a way.
You owe them.
I do owe them, yeah. None of those guys come and see me now, and I do understand why. And so yeah, I was the guy in the neighborhood who people would get their haircuts from, and I ended up joining the Marine Corps. just on a whim. I wasn't a college guy. Wanted to join the Marine Corps, so I went in a buddy system with one of my buddies in the neighborhood, and I was in Marine Corps Reserves as a military police officer, and I was a reservist at Willow Grove. And on the weekends, we'd go up there, and a lot of times we'd sit around, kind of hurry up and wait kind of thing with the military. And even during that time, I would cut hair, buzz cuts, high fades, things like that. It just interested me. I always had an interest in it.
At that time, were you better at cutting?
I was getting better.
Yeah,
Getting better on my own to a degree, but never had any kind of formal training. I would watch Nick. I would go in the shop, that kind of thing. YouTube wasn't around back then. It wasn't, wasn't too easy to get good at your, what you wanted to do. So from there, it just stayed with me. The barbering thing was always in my mind. I always, like I said, I always admired Nick's shop and the way he ran it. And went to cosmetology school at PB in Gloucester City to get my license. And at the time, there weren't many guys in the field. It was a salon-oriented field. There weren't many men going into barbering. Barbershops, good barbershops are kind of hard to come by. There was a lot of old-time shops that were around, and then there were salons. But I always had an image, dream of like the barbering kind of coming back. That's what I. So I went to school, and after I was finished at PB, the only job I can find, even though I wanted to be a barber, was to be a shampoo person at Salon Rouge in Cherry Hill. So I worked there for approximately a year and a half. And it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was totally out of my field. I didn't want to be a shampoo person. I didn't want to do anything with color or cutting, but I kind of progressed a little bit from a shampoo person to a coloring assistant. And it was just the only jobs that were kind of out there. There weren't barbering jobs out there.
At that stage, was it, what was your thought process? Because you having a vision for what you see now,
yeah,
like you were ahead of your time a bit in that way. And so how was that, was there like a tension? Like how did you balance all that? Seeing what you see in real life now, but it wasn't yet. It was
very strange because everyone that in my industry then was trying to push me into that salon field. And I was like, no, I want to be a barber, I want to be a barber. But I'd hear from a lot of stylists that I admired that worked in salons, but barbering's not really around anymore. This is where it's at, But so there was a lot of tension. I had to question myself a couple times, should I really go in this direction because the salons are the way of the world right now, or should I stick to my guns and do my thing? And I'm definitely glad I did. After about a year and a half of working there, I found a job in Blackwood. There was a barbershop called The Edge, it was just the owner, and he had no one working for him. And I went there for a job, and he said, all right, cut a head in front of me, cut some hair, let me see what you can do. Brought a friend up, I was super nervous. Gave him a good haircut according to the gentleman that owned the shop, and I got that job. Little did I know that guy had some major drug problems and he was in prison a few times, and basically he hired me to be the guy. He was out doing his thing. God knows what he was doing, but I was the only guy at the shop, so I had to learn really fast. It was a kind of like on-the-job training, like I'm hiring you as a barber, and now you got to cut. And here the guy, and it was just me in a shop, and all types of customers coming in left and right wanting haircuts from an experienced barber. And I'm just coming from a salon, shampooing, color assistant, doing haircuts on the side like I talked about. Super nervous again. And I'll never forget my first customer being a taxi cab driver that was in a rush. My first customer at this barbershop. First, a taxi cab driver runs in, I need a haircut, can you cut me? Sure, I got you, I'll take care of you. I was so nervous cutting this guy's hair because it was my first time working in a barbershop. I'm like, wow, here I am, I'm doing it. I ended up cutting the guy's neck, blood coming down everywhere. And he was the coolest guy about it. I said, yeah, sorry, I cut your neck. Put some styptic powder on his neck. I tried to clean it up as best I could, but he's on his way out, running out, leaking. No, don't worry about it, buddy. No worry, you did a great job, So, oh man, what am I doing? My first haircut, Just terrible. What's going on here? But it progressively got better. I just really, that was my focus back then. After I cut that guy, I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm getting my skills up. I got to get better. I'm going to push myself. And I actually owe that gentleman, Joe, who had that shop, I actually owe him big time for putting me in that position, because it forced me to become better, faster, and learn my trade, which I call a profession. I don't even call it a trade anymore. Barbering is a profession now. It pushed me on a road to learn a little bit faster and get to where I'm.
And his clientele, right? His clients came in, and if they trusted him, if he turned the keys over to you, they trusted that. So what was that like, stepping into, like, stepping up for, like, even for his crew, because he would find out if you're no good.
Yeah, and there was a lot of that. A lot of, like, guys whispering in his ear, like, and I'm wondering what they're saying about me, how I'm doing. But he would always say, "You're doing a great job, man." And then he would just take off, and God knows what he was doing. Like I said, he just did his thing. I don't know. But I was there for quite a while. I made some good friends, and I had good clientele build up there. Always showed up on time. I did my thing. I loved being a barber. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was my passion. So I did what I had to do, stuck it through. Even though he was never there, I felt like I was doing a good job in his absence. And then one day, I picked up the newspaper, and I looked in the classifieds, and I saw that Frank's Barbershop in Haddonfield was hiring. I just, on a whim. And Frank's is a place that everyone knew about as a barber. Even down in Sicklerville, even though Frank's was in Haddonfield, it was a place that any barber would like to get into, but it was almost impossible, because no one ever left him, and he really never fired anyone. It's just, he had that perfect shop that everybody wants. So I never even thought of it as a place that I can work. Never thought that it would happen. So I look in the classifieds one day, and I see Frank's is looking for a barber. And I'm like, wow, man, this is like my dream spot to work in. This is it. So I call Frank up, and he's, very Italian, when can you come in? When are you going to come in and see me? Frank, I'll be there as soon as I can. I got these two guys that have been there for, a long time with me. They're leaving. I need a good guy. I need you to step in here and do a good job. Frank, I got it, man. I'll be there whenever you need me to be. I came up there during the week one day. I met him. He brought me in the back, and he said, look, I'm going to be straight with you. I pay very well, but you have to be very straight with me. No BSing. I'm a straight shooter, and you better be a straight shooter too. And he punched me in my chest. So that's how I knew, all right, I'm hanging with like one of my uncles here. It felt like I was family, Yep. Come back on Saturday, and you'll start, and you got the job. That was it. It's quick, just quick as that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm working at this place that it was like a dream to work at, and I got the job. I pull up on that following Saturday, and I never saw a scene like this in my barbering experience in my life, but the whole place is packed. I could see through the window. I'm parked out front. The whole place is packed. I'm like, well, guys are lined up. The chairs are full. This is totally opposite of where I'm coming from. Doing maybe like one haircut an hour, maybe two. Very slow paced. Frank's is like boom, 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 cranking them out. So I get in there. I'm super nervous. Sit in my chair where I'm setting my station up. I got on my tools, cutting hair, and it couldn't have been a tougher day, but Frank was great about it. He's putting guys in my chair, because guys that are scared of me, I'm a new guy. He would vouch for me, even though he never saw me cut a head before.
I was going to say, I was going to follow up with that. Like, he didn't actually do, like, all right, cut someone's hair and I'll make a grade. That's amazing.
Yeah, he put guys in my chair. This guy's good, don't worry about it. And I gave him okay haircuts compared to the level that the Frank's barbers were at. I did my best. And it's crazy how loyal the customers are in Haddonfield, because I didn't do some of the best work on them. And they could have got a haircut from a lot of other people in that shop that would do a way better job than me. But guess what? When I cut their hair, they came back. And I learned that barbering, when you go to a barbershop, it's a lot about the experience. A lot of it is about the experience. It's not about the haircut you're getting. It's about the evolution of the shop. If somebody trusts the owner, they generally trust that barber. And it's a growth that kind of generates through the shop, and as customers become loyal to the shop, not just a particular barber. Where, a lot of those guys could have got walked up and left. Tell Frank to, screw you, Frank. I don't, you put me in this kid's chair. He's horrible. But no, that's how I got better. And again, I had to get up on their level, so I put in the work, put in the time. Frank became a father figure, a mentor to me. There's no one I could ever imagine working for that would be a better influence on me in my journey than Frank. He created the blueprint for Joe and I, my business partner, who I admire very much. He instilled the blueprint in us for the future on how to run a barbershop if we ever needed to, how to treat clientele, socially, how to run it. I mean, all the little things, the character things that I feel a lot of this generation of barbers is missing, Frank instilled in us. The work ethic, as you can say. So I had all that. I felt that I was moving in the right direction. And as great as that was going, in 2011, Frank passed away, as Joe mentioned, I'm sure, in his last interview. And that really, really hit us hard. That was like our mini like 9/11, if you will, for us. It was like the world stopped for us. We showed up to work. I got a call at 5:30 in the morning that Frank passed away. It was just it was very, very moving. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to do. He was my guy. He was like, that was my job. I didn't know where to go from there. So Joe and I met up in front of the shop, and all the customers were out there. Where's Frank? Where's Frank? And we're telling him the story. And man, we're just breaking down. We're all just breaking down out there. All his loyal customers, his family showing up. Oh, it was just an awful day. So the shop stayed open. Frank's wife kept the shop open. And we moved on the best we could. But there was a big part of the show was missing, and that was Frank, the guy that kind of made us who we were in my eyes. He wasn't there anymore. And I just didn't feel right in this situation without him. There's a lot of things that happened at the shop that, I didn't feel right about, and Joe didn't feel right about. But there was this one customer that, Bill Cahill, he's a lawyer in town here, very, very generous man, another one of my mentors. He may not know it, but I look up to him in many ways. He said to me at the shop years before Frank passed away, if anything ever happens, come to me and I'll take care of you guys, because you guys are good people. Frank hired some good people here, and I want to make sure you guys are set up okay. And I always had that in the back of my head. I said, wow, when the time's right, I'm going to talk to Bill, and that was the perfect timing. So I went to Joe and I said, Joe, we got to talk to this guy, Bill Cahill. And Joe was like, I kind of know him. And I'm like, no, he wants to talk to us. He's one of Frank's good customers, and Joe was on board. So let's talk to Bill. Let's see what he has to say. He lives in Haddonfield. Went to his house. He spoke to us about the situation, and Joe and I decided in Bill's family room. We basically came up with the idea of let's start our own spot. Let's look for a building. Bill Cahill says, okay, I know some realtors in town. Let's find you a building. Let's see what happens. And we're nervous, like, wow, we never did this before. And we're looking at buildings, going from empty building to empty building, trying to look at spots. And we're looking at Joe and I are looking at each other. Is this real? Is this really going on? Like, what's happening here, man? Like, we're really stepping up. So that was a big change in our lives. We both have families. I had a young son at the time. Joe has 5 children. The transition was rough. We looked at a couple of buildings that didn't work out. We were getting discouraged. And we ended up finding the building that we're at now, 228 East Kings Highway, which was a shoe store at the time. And it was on the other side of the town. We're used to being next at Frank's shop by the train tracks. This is on the other side of Haddon Avenue. We didn't really know that side of Kings Highway. And we first walked into the building, And we're trying to take it all in, and we're like, I don't know if this is going to work. The place is purple and green. Doesn't look like a barbershop does. It looks like a shoe store. We couldn't really figure it in our minds how we're going to modify this place. But we put our minds together, and Joe has a brother-in-law that is in contracting. He came to look at the space, fitted it all out for us. We told him how we wanted it. Joe is absolutely great with that. Joe is great at setting up, where things should be, the design of the shop. He was excellent with that. And to mention Joe again, like we did this as a tandem. I don't know if we can do it on our own. We complement each other extremely well. We're like yin and yang, Joe and I. Our personalities are totally different. But what he does well, he does extremely well. And I feel like I do my part extremely well on my side, and it just works. A lot of businesses, when you have a partner, I guess it may not work so well. But with Joe and I, it's like magic happens, I could say, when we work together. So he helped design the place to make it look more like a barbershop. And we all kind of put our 2 cents in and figured it out. We had our wives come in, and then as progression, we ended up leasing that building. And our wives were coming in, and little pieces are going up here and there, cabinetry, mirrors, and wow, this is really starting to look like a shop. This is really coming together, way more than I ever expected. So from there, we decided on an opening date, which was June 1st, 2012. We were very nervous for the state board inspection because every barbershop and salon has to go through a state board inspection. So we had our place tip-top shape, looked great. We were excited. And everything passed. We were up ready to go. June 1st, Joe and I started. We started our shop. It was a dream come true. We would sit out, and we would always kind of lift each other up on that journey when we opened up our shop. We always, don't worry, in a couple of years we're going to be drinking a glass of wine, sitting back, looking at this as it's a very positive thing. I know Frank passed away, but this is the next step in life. It's going to be great. And now, it's amazing what happened. But Joe and I, in the beginning, we were building up our clientele, reaching out, running around Haddonfield, basically passing out flyers, any way we could to advertise, let our customers know that we're now down the street. We're not at Frank's anymore. We would see guys at Starbucks, yo, come on over. Joe was excellent at that also. He's great at going out there and just knocking people over the head. Yo, we got a barbershop now, come see us. That worked out. We advertised, and there was about a 2-month period where Joe and I would just sit up in the bench in front of our shop with some Starbucks, like, wow, we have some customers, but when are we really going to get hit? And I'll tell you, 6 months into our venture, we were really, really starting to pick it up. We needed more barbers. We had some coworkers that we worked with that wanted to come along. They came along with us, and they're excellent barbers. And they make MirAno what it is now. It's not just Joe and I; it's the barbers that we work with. And it's just kind of progressed from there. We just made it. We all made it happen as a team. And my vision as a young child and Joe's vision kind of all came together, and it was real. We had a 7-chair barbershop that was packed to the gills with customers. We never thought it could get any busier than Frank's, because Frank's was like the pinnacle at the time. Frank's was as busy as you can get as far as barbershops. We surpassed that, and we still can't believe it to this day. I still feel the energy now. I mean, it's an amazing experience, and right now I still feel that passion. I'm still passionate about what I do. I can't get enough of it. Barbering is my life. It feeds my family. My kids know how much I love it. I bring my kids to the shop. It's just I can't express how grateful I am for all the life lessons that I've learned to get to where I'm at now.
And being in that shop. You're exactly right. It's the culture that you've created there that you're a part of, because my experience there too, having 4 different people cut my hair in that place speaks to that. It speaks to the culture, of the barbershop. And so to tie that in, like you've always paid attention to that. It's about community, it's about relationships. In-house, the haircut's kind of secondary. You having a vision for that place. Now, what's your vision for the next chapter? For MirAno's, what do you see the next 5 years for your place?
I'll tell you what, we're so far ahead of even our own imagination that the next 5 years, if it continues to go the way it is now, I'm extremely happy. Our goals have been set. My vision of success is quality of life, my family. Do you enjoy your job? Of course, just being happy. That's success in my eyes. Health. That's the most important thing. After all the road that I've been through, that's the most important thing. Money comes with, it sounds cliche, but money comes with the passion that you're in. If you put enough time in anything you do, the money is going to follow. Like it definitely, that's the way it works. And I feel that we put our blood, sweat, and tears in this place, 110% every day we put into it. And now it's starting, to pay back. But like I say, not just money. It's not about the money. It's about the relationships, the loyalty of the town. This town, Haddonfield, is amazing. I don't think we could have ever done it in any other town but here.
Yeah, can you actually, just a minute or two, just kind of expound on that? Because it is unique here. Like Haddonfield, just the high quality of the barbershops, and it's a part of the DNA of this town.
Yeah.
As someone that's been on the front lines of it, could you just shed some light on that for
Absolutely. Haddonfield is unique in as far as any town goes, with the walking traffic, the loyalty to their home businesses. We looked in some other towns. I have to be honest. We talked about opening up a second shop, and we went to a few different other places. We went to Collingswood and Moorestown, and those places are great. There's a special bond in Haddonfield amongst the people that live here and the businesses that I can't explain. There's something magical here. They stand by their own, and lucky for us, we're in a, visually we're in a great location. We have doctor's offices, lawyers' offices, people on their lunch breaks, moms walking by with their kids. We're not just busy on Fridays and Saturdays like a lot of other salons are. We have that daytime traffic. Moms are home, babysitters are home. Like I said, people are walking out on their lunch breaks, so we get a lot of traffic on Tuesdays when people at other shops are just sitting around like wondering what's going on. I don't think you could mimic that anywhere else. Maybe in outside of New Jersey, like outside of this South Jersey area, maybe in the city in Philadelphia it would work, but I can't picture it working on our level without being in Haddonfield.
I agree. What this entrepreneurial spirit that you have, like the drive you have, would you call being a business owner and an entrepreneur a calling that's been on your life?
It's a calling now. It wasn't necessarily a calling to be a business owner because I was just passionate about being a barber. But I think it's a calling now because a lot of the younger generation that are getting into the field need to know and need to have the knowledge passed on to them the right way, because in my mind, I learned from the best. And unfortunately and fortunately, a lot of the new generation, they look at Instagram, social media. That's their influence for becoming what they are as barbers. We really had like the old time guys that were like the OGs of barbering teach us. So I want to, in my mind, it's my mission to pass that on to others. I think Frank would want it that way. Nick Fortunato, he would want it that way. So it is my calling now to become an owner, because now I can be a mentor to those people that are coming up, and just create the right atmosphere for them as far as a barber, the thinking, not just the cutting hair. The cutting hair part can be taught by anyone. It's the work ethic, the character, the being able to fit into a social environment like a barbershop. That can't be taught. Instagram can't teach that. As great as your work may be on Instagram, you need to work on your character before you work on your fade. That's like a motto that I always
That's awesome.
Kind of throw out there.
Yeah, I love that. Well, George, thank you so much, man. Your story is important, and actually your story in your voice, coming from you is important, and it is unique to this town. I love how you just connected those dots. It's a part of the fabric, of the town, and thank you so much, for being on today. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and anytime I would love to do this again. It's great. Thanks, Barry.